to our annual spring safety meeting. For those of you who are joining us for the first time on this, every year before the season kicks off, we get together and we go over some of the basic safety protocols each year. Once we get rid of COVID and we can get back to normal, this will not be done through Zoom. It'll be done in person, and it's usually a half a day event because we have vendors that will come in and have conversations with us, and then we take it outside and where you're able to use different pieces of equipment. We do outside pre-trip inspections. People can ask questions. So it's much more involved when we're able to do it in person. But for today, because of COVID, we're just going to make do and do the best we can. So welcome. Today we have some guest speakers. You will see Mark Cody from Cross Insurance. Cross Insurance, for those of you who don't know, is our insurance broker who handles all of our liability claims as well as our workers' comp stuff. And they work with Acadia, who is our workers' comp insurance carrier, to make sure that we're doing all the things right and keeping our insurance claim costs down so that we can all afford to live, and Hayden doesn't have to like strip us of all of our pay raises because we're having accidents every day. So those are good things that are happening. Also with us today is Glenn from Landopt. Many of you or all of you saw him for the most part during the emotional intelligence, the last training that we went through. He is joining us today because he did an amazing safety presentation the other day for Landopt, and he's condensed that down for today's meeting, but it really had a lot of value to us. And I had some JLMC members reach out to me and say, hey, we should have him do that. And I'm like, absolutely. So thank you both for joining us today. Also on the agenda, we have Tom Brown from Carroll County Landscape, who sent in an amazing PPE video, and I'm super excited to show it to you guys. We're going to go over some stretching. It's going to be now part of our culture. We're going to talk about some DOT road stops and then incident reporting. So should probably take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Hopefully y'all are going to have some great questions for us. So behind me is the prize table. So as you participate, ask questions, and just give your general feedback, Mark Smith is going to be tracking questions and interrupting me as the moderator to let me know. And he's going to keep track of who's participating, and then we're going to give out prizes afterwards. So every time someone says something, I'm not going to get up and go to the table and grab something like, this is what you got, because it would just take forever. But know that if you participate, you'll be getting something from us. And there's some really cool stuff back there. All right, so let me see if he is on yet. Oh, there he is. So I'm going to promote him and get him up as a co-host. Fantastic. Okay. So first, what I would like to do is introduce our JLMC. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to ask the question. If you already know what it means, please don't answer, because I want new people to try to take a guess at this, but especially if you're on it. But what does JLMC stand for? So go ahead and throw that in the chat.
Okay, we have Taylor Sperry with Joint Loss Management Committee.
Perfect. Great job, Taylor. You were the first to get in there, so congratulations, you get a prize. And I think everyone that we'll see, we have a lot of prizes, so Mark will keep track of all of it because we have stuff from everybody, so awesome. So on our Joint Loss Management Committee, our employee representatives are Jen Vasilian, Tim Catalotto, Jim LaFaux, Tom Brown, and Curtis Archibald. For our management representatives, we have Steve Osmer, Candy Stockman, myself, Mark, and Andrew. And a non-voting member who's always with us is Dustin Ames, because obviously the uptake or the upkeep of vehicles and equipment is also very important to our safety. So he's always on the JLMC. He's just a non-voting member, which means that he still has input. He just can't vote. Not that we ever vote, but we should. Some point. So we're going to have a lot of these today. So we're going to go through a lot of pictures of what's wrong with this picture? So in between everything, we're going to do these. So go ahead in the chat and tell us what's wrong with this picture.
Boy, Angie, this is going to be a chore to keep up with all these responses.
I know.
So we've got Sean LeMay says you're going to die.
Fantastic.
Never ride with a fuel can in the cab from Rick Grima. Fuel can in the cab of the truck. Yeah, we got Tim Catalano, Sarah Cook, Keegan Wright. Yep, we got a lot of people with that one, Angie.
Yeah. Oh, Rick. Poor Rick's typing is delayed because of his finger. Rick, if you need to talk, you can just raise your hand and we'll unmute you. I feel bad. All right. So yeah, we definitely don't want fuel cans inside the cab at any time. So next, we're going to have Mark Cody up to go through our cross insurance update. Good morning, Mark.
Morning. Morning. Appreciate you doing this. First off, I got to say, I like Tim Ross's comment. You can't drive with the door open, Angie.
That was pretty good.
I like that. This is dangerous. Having the chat on the side, this could be dangerous, but I know you got a great crew here. So, well, anyway, thank you for inviting me to do this again. You know, for a lot of people out there, I know, you know, you have a great pool of employees here that has been around for a while. So a lot of them have heard me, or even maybe back in the old days saw me speak in person. So, you know, I really appreciate you guys still doing this no matter what the obstacles are. And that's the beauty of Belknap Landscape. And I talk with our underwriter, like Angie said, at Acadia, as well as underwriters for other carriers that are in the know, to let them know that, you know, what Belknap does for their employees, for safety, it really should be the model that everyone and every organization goes off of. But you know, you don't have Angie's and Mark Smith's and Andrews and all these great people at all these other companies. So obviously they won't be able to do it. But you guys do a fantastic job, and it's things like this that keep people safe, that keep people going home the way they showed up to work, and keep you guys moving forward. So thank you for doing this. So you're going to, I can share my screen at some point. There we go. Okay. In the beginning. Okay, so starting off here, just with a quote here. When I talk about safety, it really, in my mind, is a form of leadership and accountability. And in these presentations in the past, I've talked about accountability. You know, everyone's accountable. You know, from the most recent person hired all the way up to Hayden, who runs the organization. Everyone is held accountable, has to be accountable for their own actions. And quite honestly, in the work that you guys do, if you're not accountable for yourself and your actions, you could not only injure yourself, but you could injure someone else. And trust me, you don't want that type of guilt on your conscience. So this quote here: accept responsibility for your actions, be accountable for your results, and take ownership of your mistakes. You know, the best thing when I see an employee in my office, they don't blame someone else. I love it when they come in my office and say, listen, Mark, you know what? This was my fault. Here's what I did wrong, and here's how we can fix it. And as their boss, I say, great, now let's do this together. You know, as opposed to someone coming in saying, you know, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, and that's why someone got hurt. That's not the way to move forward. That's not the way to get better. You know, in life, we're all good, but we try to get better every single day. So taking ownership of your mistakes is absolutely important. So just a little quote here. So I'm going to talk about the most exciting topic of the day, work comp. Work comp is a form of insurance that every employer is required to purchase. And it is coverage really for work-related illnesses and injuries. So if you get injured at work, Angie will submit a claim with the work comp carrier, which is Acadia, and there will be an adjuster assigned, and they'll be working with the medical facility that maybe you're injured with to basically move the claim along and hopefully get you the help that you need to get back out there. But ideally, none of you on this call will ever have to file a work comp claim because everything that I said today sticks, which I know is not realistic. So a couple things I want you to take away from this. The most important things, and these I've said every year, what can't I do because I've been injured? You know, I know I've said it before and it probably sounds like a broken record, but, you know, I've been injured. I've had a back injury that I've re-injured several times since I was 17 years old. So for the past 24 years, I literally have been in and out of physical therapy because of one stupid mistake playing hockey as a kid. And that has been an injury that has gotten better and worse over the years, depending on how much effort I put into recovery and just staying, you know, in front of it and not doing stupid mistakes. But because of that injury, I can't do certain things. I can't, you know, I can't help a family member move, which probably isn't the worst thing in the world. But, you know, if you have an injury, there's a lot of people that take care of their own family members, that maybe drive their family members to medical appointments, that go hiking, that go whitewater rafting, that go fishing, that go hunting, that do all these types of outdoor things, especially here in the Lakes region, that if you have a massive injury, say goodbye to your summer. You're not going to be able to do those things. And quite honestly, if it's a long-lasting injury, you might not be able to do things for a very long time or ever again. So you need to understand that, you know, if you do something just to speed up the situation, maybe cut a corner, that could be detrimental to your health for a very long time. And how would being injured affect my life and my family? You know, if there are family members that rely on you, what are they going to do if you can't be their savior? What are you going to do if they can't rely on you to bring you somewhere? To bring them to their doctor's appointments, to you know, visit the rest of your family. You know, how will it have an effect on your family? And by the way, who's going to be taking care of you? And can they do that? So things to think about. So I'm going to talk a little bit about claims activity. Really, the reason for this is to show you, you know, over the years what the trends are. I will tell you at Belknap Landscape, Angie and everyone is fantastic with reporting any potential claim. So the numbers might look high, but in reality, they're extremely good. And I'll explain that a little bit further. So I'm doing a synopsis here of a 5-year claim history from 16 to 20. Believe it or not, that is 5 years. And really, I want to focus on the months that things are more active. And that is really starting in April, going all the way through October. And as you can see, as the summer progresses, things heat up, and we see a giant uptick in claims on average in June, July, and August. And there's many reasons for that. And it could be the amount of work that needs to be done. It could be getting tired. It could be maybe rushing things a little bit too fast. You know, maybe you have a piece of equipment that you haven't told someone that is broken and you continue to use it. There's a lot of different reasons that could have an impact on why those claims jump, or why you see more claims in those prime months. And quite honestly, I think Angie and the crew have done a great job at, you know, doing a midsummer meeting, which helps with these types of things, right? Because safety isn't something you talk about once a quarter, once a month, or even once a week. Safety is something you have to talk about, be top of mind literally every single day. And the more proactive we are about it, the better things get. I want to show you. So this is the number. So let's see, in the past 5 years, we've had 27 claims in June, 32 claims in July, 30 claims in August, and then back down to 16 in September. But what does that mean dollar-wise? What were the costs of these claims? So if you go to a cost analysis, going back to June were only $4,700 in claims. Well, how can that be? If we had, I forget what the number was, roughly 30 claims or 26 claims in June, how come the number's so much lower? Well, in June, we have a lot of bee stings, tick bites, sunburns. And yes, those are all work comp. Those are all work-related injuries. Majority of the time, it's not a big deal. But the beautiful thing about Belknap Landscape is they understand that we want to report any and all of these. How many times have you heard someone get a tick bite that turns into Lyme disease? Or a cut or a scrape that turns into MRSA, or some other infectious disease? You have to report these types of things. Sunburns, as crazy as it might sound, sunburns actually can be a real big thing and cause all kinds of different things. If you've had a real bad sunburn, you know that it affects how you feel overall, not just the actual skin itself. So there can be additional consequences. Fortunately, we haven't seen those, but it could happen. So it's important that we report those. In July, you see an uptick in costs, and then boom, August and September. Now, August, you had a good number of claims over those 5 years, but it's really one or two that made that jump to a total claim cost in August over 5 years is almost $70,000, and then roughly the same in September. What happens in August and September? You've been working all summer. You've been hustling. You've been grinding. And also, you get a little lackadaisical in the process, and it's hot. So there's a lot of things that could happen midway through the season where people kind of take shortcuts and take a break or just kind of cut some corners. And that's when you see accidents happen. You know, a lot of times they say linemen on the, or I should say flaggers on the highway or flaggers on the road. The people that get hit by the car or the oncoming traffic aren't the 1 or 2 year person that's been doing the job for 1 or 2 years. It's a person that's been doing it for 25 or 30 years because they've gotten so comfortable in that zone. They've gotten so comfortable in what they've done because they've done it this way their entire life, and they've never gotten injured before, and that's when they get hit by the car. You know,
Hey,
so
Mark.
yeah.
There's a question here. Is there any negative consequence to an employee for reporting something, just as an FYI?
No, that's a great question. We really ask everyone to report a claim, no matter what the situation might be. You're not going to get penalized. You're not going to get yelled at. You're not going to have docked pay, and you're not going to get fired. You know, for reporting a claim, you're basically saying, hey, guys, I'm a part of the team here. This situation occurred, and I want to make sure that it's documented well so that no one gets in trouble and we get everything cleared up as quickly as possible. The other great thing about that is if nothing comes out of it, you know, it's a potential learning opportunity, right? I mean, I always think about Tom Brady and how he goes about his process. No matter what you think of him for leaving the Pats, but you look at his longevity in his career, and he's always trying to get better. He's always looking for these opportunities to coach the team around him and ways to get better. And having any near miss discussions or even a claim is important, and it brings up an opportunity for us to learn and get better together and to teach the other people around you. So absolutely not. I will tell you that there's a lot of claims that we file here, or I should say that Belknap files, that end up with $0 being paid out. We're basically just putting the carrier on notice just in the event that something bad may occur from it. There's no penalty for that. It doesn't hurt Belknap in any way. Actually, if anything, it gives me ammo for when I'm talking with the underwriters to see, this is the exact organization that is doing it correct, and you want to see this with all your clients all across the board. Because here's the problem. We see this with other clients where someone sprains their ankle. They think, it's just I just rolled my ankle, not a big deal. 2 weeks go by, and they finally, hopefully you can still hear my phone connection. It looks like my video connection went down. Can you hear me, Mark?
Yeah, we still got
Okay,
you.
good.
We just can't see your screens.
That's all right. That's why I do the phone audio. But we've had these clients where someone will roll an ankle and they will not report it. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, the ankle isn't getting any better. It's swollen, and then they finally report it. Well, there's legal ramifications for filing a claim late, not for you individually, but for the organization. And there's ramifications for the adjuster, because now they can't really do a thorough job in investigating the claim and making sure that everything's handled and treated properly. And by the way, you've now gone with maybe a worse situation for 3 or 4 weeks just because you're trying to tough it out. I understand the concept of toughing it out. I trust me. I mean, that's why I got injured originally. But that is dumb, and it's not a smart move. It does not make you tough. It actually shows some problems with maybe your thought process, as in the right thing to do and how to go about it. So please, if there is a potential injury, report it. There's no, there's no, nothing bad's going to come to you because of that. It helps the organization, and it helps everyone get a little bit better.
So to add to that, if you don't report it and you come to us 4 or 5 days later, there's a chance that Acadia will be like, we have no proof that you actually did this at work because you didn't tell anybody, nobody saw it. So that's also a reason to make sure that you're reporting as soon as something happens. Oh, we lost you, Mark. Now your audio is not working. It looks like your phone's muted. There we go. Nope.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So, the thing about being an agent, I'm the in-between guy between Belknap Landscape and the carrier, which is Acadia. The carrier does their best, but at times they want to deny claims. Maybe because Angie's right, maybe something came in late, there's not enough information, that type of stuff. So, we are the advocate that fights for Belknap to make sure that claims are handled and adjusted properly. We are a part of the team. I look at myself as an employee of Belknap Landscape, as well as the rest of my team. But we need everyone to be a participant in the process. If we report things late, it's really just a bad situation. So anytime that you think something happened or you're potentially injured, just report it as quickly as possible. It's not a bad thing. Just to summarize real quick, I'm going to show you some other stats here, but types of claims that we typically see, like I said, bee stings, sunburns, tick bites, that type of stuff. The ones that are the worst, the slips, trips, falls. Slips, trips, and falls happen year-round, no matter what the season is. If you don't think there's slips, trips, and falls in the summer, you're wrong. There could be, I even put it on here, slipping on the tail of the truck, right? You're on the back of the truck, you're running around, you're grabbing something, throwing it in the truck, and then running back out. Everything's wet. Maybe you're stepping on a wet tarp or whatever it is. There is a lot of slippage, and that could be because you're going too fast, or maybe because your footwear is a little old, right? You have those same boots that you've had for 6 or 7 years. There's types of claims we see: bending or lifting, tripping on loose equipment on the ground. Listen, again, this is accountability. You have to be accountable to the people around you. If you're just throwing something on the ground, thinking, I'll get back to it later, you're not thinking about the other person coming up behind you that is carrying something that might not be able to see you, that you left something on the ground, especially if the grass is high. So you have to be cognizant of those things. Here's one that you never want to do: striking others with equipment, right? You're maybe moving a little too quick. Maybe you're not paying attention. Maybe you don't have a full grasp of of your surroundings, and you're moving a little too fast, and you end up hurting someone else. you don't want that on your conscience.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah,
do you have your screen up where you can share it again?
you want to see my screen, huh?
Yeah. Somebody
Sorry,
wants to
my
see the
internet
3 of
connection
us
must have,
sitting here.
it's important. There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I even put The Simpsons on there.
Perfect.
Lifting too heavy, right? You're lifting something off the ground. There's proper ways, and I saw that you guys were going to talk about some other things on the agenda, like stretching and things like that. You know, it's extremely important to lift things correctly, even if you're young and you've never been injured before. Trust me, it can happen. Don't think you're a superhero. It doesn't help anyone. You're not paid to be a bodybuilder or a power lifter. You're paid to do things properly and correctly, and that's how you move up in the company and you build a great career. By doing things too quick and maybe not the smartest of ways gets yourself injured or someone else. So just wanted to highlight that, but I know you guys are going to be talking about those types of things moving forward. So let me go to the next slide here. I just wanted to show you a little bit on how and what the count looks like for injuries that we see per body part, really. The upper extremities. So that's where we see the majority of the claims. Let's see if I can move my thing. So we have 48 claims over the past 5 years that are upper extremities. So what are upper extremities? Head, neck, shoulders, elbows, back, that type of stuff. Lower extremities, legs, knees, ankles, you have 43 of those. And then here's your head and neck injuries, 28. Head and neck injuries, think about that. How do you get a head or neck injury? It's either you strain it, or you get hit by something, or hit your head against something. Multiple body parts, meaning like typically like a fall, that type of thing, 27. Here's your back injuries, 25, and then trunk, 15. Next one here is what the cost is. I know overall the total cost is kind of a hard number to really wrap your minds around, but upper extremities, so that was the majority of our claims, with lower being right below that, but the upper extremities are way more than double the cost in total claim costs over the past 5 years. Why? Well, that's surgery, that's physical therapy, that's being out of work because there's something that was done that just keeps you immobilized. Here's the thing, I will prove to you that I'm an insurance geek or nerd. I have several family members in the insurance industry, and we talk about this stuff all the time. My brother-in-law can't stand it. At Thanksgiving, we talk about these things. My wife is a work comp claims adjuster. She's handling a claim right now where an employee did something a little that she should not have done. She pulled out into traffic and was hit by a pickup truck. Well, she's now a triplegic. I mean, she only has one limb that works. And this has been going on for 5 years. This is a $7 to $8 million claim at this point. I mean, just by not thinking or by rushing, you make bad decisions, and you have these situations. And by the way, if you're having a surgery, it's probably going to impact you for life, right? If you're an athlete, outside of work, what can't you do because you got injured at work? So you see here also lower extremities is next, and then the back injuries are pretty high at claim costs as well. I just broke it down here. As you can see, I used my mouse to highlight these things. I want to show you the shoulder. The reason why I highlighted shoulder is because in 5 years, there's been 7 shoulder claims, 2 in 16, 3 in 2018, 2 in this past policy year. But look at the claim cost. The claim cost is way higher than any other group because it's a shoulder injury. Shoulders you don't want to mess with, and that can be from lifting too heavy. That can be from lifting overhead. That can be from pulling. That can be from falling. Any number of situations could cause a massive shoulder injury. Upper arm was another one. Upper arm could be tricep could be bicep, could be tear. And we've only had 2 of those in 5 years, but that is the second highest claim cost for upper body parts. So I just wanted to highlight those 2. Lower body parts, the knee. Knee injuries are the worst. Knee injuries are for life. You know, we have at least 1 every year for the past 5 years. I've had 13 over the past 5 years for a total of 33,000. Knee injuries are no joke. None of them are a joke. Even abdomen. Abdomen could be a hernia. Those might get healed, but they're never fully gone. They're with you for life. So we highlight these not to scare anyone, but just to bring reality to the forefront so that you guys can see what we talk about in our safety meetings. I do want to highlight a couple other ones. Burn or sunburn, really, it should say, there's been a total of 34, but out of all those years, only about $1,000 have been paid out. So yeah, we want to report a sunburn. It's not a bad thing. You're not gonna get in trouble. It just brings awareness to the situation. And then here's the bad ones: strain or injury. Strain could be a muscle strain or pull. We have several of those every single year. But look at the claim costs; they're huge. A total of $161,000 in work comp claims related to strain or injured by. Struck by, meaning struck by another employee, or struck by equipment, not struck by an employee like in an angry way, but someone not doing the right thing and injuring someone else, or hit by equipment that's moving, or maybe something else that could be flying at them. You're looking at 44 claims and 43,000 total costs. So again, just want to kind of give you a picture of what we're talking about. Obviously I'm not going to go through every single one with you, but a lot of people are in the mindset of, do people really get injured at work? Yes. And like your question before, are we getting in trouble for reporting a claim? No.
Mark,
Not
I just
at all.
wanted to note that, reporting these things, something as simple as a sunburn or a finger laceration or something like that, and the fact that you and Cross Insurance keeps track of all that data for us, part of what we do is to review that data like you're all seeing today. And, we ask ourselves, what can we do to make the environment safer? And do we need to invest in something different to prevent these in the future? So I just wanted to note that we do look at that, and we do look at how we can make the working experience a better, safer situation for everybody.
Yep, absolutely. It's an opportunity to learn, and that's the beauty of Belknap. Again, I know I sound like a brown nose here, but I really enjoy working with the team here because they care. They want to make sure you guys are safe. They want to make sure you guys are going home the way you showed up. So every month I sit on the safety committee. That's a different safety committee than the Joint Loss Management Committee, and we talk about claims. We talk about near misses. We talk about vehicle and equipment maintenance issues. We talk about training. We talk about hiring practices and what to look for. And the reason why we do all these things is to keep you guys safe. The byproduct of that, of course, is fewer claims, which is lower claim costs, which is lower premiums, which is more money that Belknap can put back into the organization. But in reality, it's really just to do the right thing and keep you guys safe. And learning about these claims and near misses, it just creates all kinds of opportunities. Every single month when we meet, there is never a boring topic. There's never a boring month. There's always something to talk about and discuss. Recently I brought to the attention of the safety committee a death in the workplace. It wasn't at Belknap. It was with another employer in the state. And even though it wasn't at Belknap, it was something to talk about. How did it happen? What happened? Is that something that could happen here? And if so, how do we make sure that something like this doesn't happen? And there's always several a year in New Hampshire, and it's not a good thing. And so I just thought, let's put together a chart here from OSHA on the 4 leading causes of death in the workplace, because believe it or not, things can happen. And if you're not doing the right thing, if you're not paying attention, you're not being accountable, you're not being a good coworker, people can get hurt. And unfortunately, some people can die. Falls, right? People can die from a fall. Could be from a ladder. And I will tell you that if there's a ladder that is malfunctioning or is broken, Belknap will buy a new ladder. Don't hesitate. Bring it to their attention right away. I had an employee for one of my other clients fall this year, and he had shoulder and neck injuries that required surgery, and he had what's called a brain bleed. That's taken months of living in darkness to allow his brain to heal. And that's just from a fall. Nothing he did wrong in that situation. The equipment might have been the issue, but I will tell you at Belknap, if you inspect your equipment as you should, and there's anything wrong, they will replace it. A couple of the other ones, caught by or caught in between. Could be in between machinery or equipment or materials. Struck by, it could be from someone else operating heavy equipment. Could be struck by, lightning. There's several different ways, but typically it's heavy equipment, and then electrocution. So you got to be cognizant of the area you're working in. You have to be aware of, hey, the winter's over, the spring is here, things shifted, right? Things aren't in the same place they were when you left them back in August and September and October. So you have to keep an eye out for these things. So anyway, if I have more time, I can show you real quick just what an experienced mod worksheet looks like, but that might be a little overkill for this session.
Yeah, I would say that probably would be. I think that's
okay.
We'll leave that for the safety committee.
No problem.
Yeah.
Any questions for me?
I want to point out one of the things, if you notice back on his cost sheet, muscle strains were a big cost to the company. Total this year, we've had 5 injuries all year that have been reported. 4 of them are muscle strains. So we're already showing a very high number of muscle strains, which is why stretching is going to become part of our culture, which we will go over later. But it's really important to make sure that you're stretching throughout the day, your body's warm, it's ready to go, and you're not cold starting every day and just going right at it, because when you do that, that's when you're going to get injured. I will go over that later.
And I love that you guys are talking about stretching. Having a back injury for this many years, the one thing that has helped me get back out there and doing things, playing hockey again in an adult league, playing golf again, the one thing that has helped is consistent stretching. I do it a little obsessively throughout the day, but it is I can't believe as silly as I thought that was when I was younger. I can't tell you how much that has helped me and really kind of bulletproofed me a little bit for situations that I would never have been able to handle in the past. Again, Tom Brady. 42 years old, still getting hit by these big guys. Pliability. All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
Glenn's a Pittsburgh fan. Not a fan of Brady.
Oh, well.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you coming on today and going over all of that. And if any of you have any questions, feel free to post them. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. So can we see the big screen just to make sure I posted the right one, because I do weird stuff sometimes. Okay, so our next segment is what's wrong with this picture. For those of you who may not be able to see this clearly, this is the back of a dump truck, and there is rocks encased in ice. So what's wrong with that? What happened here? Where's my moderator?
Every time we do a different screen share, my format adjusts and I have to reacquaint myself, but
Oh, no kidding. Weird.
we've got, let's see, they come too quick and I can't read them fast enough. Justin Dalder, always dump load at end of day. Needs to be cleaned out at the end of the day because it melts and freezes in. Justin Dalder, DJ Doan, Rick Grima, Tim Catalano,
Did
Curtis
you read
Archibald.
what Rick actually wrote?
Truck was not cleaned out properly.
Oh, no, I see Rick wrote, if that's an X mark shirt behind you, I call dibs.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Really? So you guys are all giving great answers to this. And the question is, how did this happen? So somebody obviously left it like this and somebody said, hey, Ange, check this out. And this is why we're bringing it up. So we all know that that needed to get cleaned out at the end of the day. So let's make sure that we're actually doing that so that this does not happen. Next, we've got Glenn Bertha, and I'm going to unshare my screen.
You know what? I'm going to do the same thing. Nobody wants to watch me anyhow.
Yeah, I'm gonna unvideo myself as well.
But I am going to go ahead and share my screen.
Mark, I'm gonna stop your video too so that people can focus on the thing. All right, perfect.
All right, Angie, can you see my green screen there?
I sure can.
All right. First of all, good morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to join in because for those of you that know or have been involved with land op trainings or me, you know that in my world, you know, we teach a lot of things, but absolutely nothing is more important than safety. So yeah, I was never going to turn down the opportunity to do this. And I did this recently for a webinar that we put on, but I've made sort of a condensed version, but I think I'm going to get the point across. So quick agenda here. We're going to talk about why it's important, a little bit of safety education, some tips, and your role in safety. So, you know, I want to throw some numbers at you a little bit. I know Mark did a great job of trying to illustrate via numbers. I put a few graphics with mine. OSHA statistics show that our industry has one of the highest mortality rates, death rates in our industry. It's a fact. Take a look at this number, right? Landscape workers, that's our industry, any role in our industry. We make up less than 1% of the total US workforce. However, we experience 3.5% of total fatalities. That is way out of line. That is telling us what we do is more dangerous than just about any other job out there. We are in the upper echelon as far as dangerous and number of fatalities. On average, about 25 deaths occur each year per 100,000 workers. It's 25 too many, folks. Labor and Statistics estimate on average 197 workers die from on-the-job injuries each year. The lost time injury rate is 3.5 injuries for every 100 full-time employees. That's high. The years 03 and 06, there were 789 deaths just among landscape service workers and supervisors. 789. It happens, folks. 1 in every 50 landscape workers suffers an injury each year that keeps him or her out of work for an average of 7 days at a time. That's significant. 1 out of every 50. There's more than 50 of you on this call today. From 03 to 08, Labor and Statistics reported Over 5,000 transportation-related injuries that involve time away from work just in our industry. Spend a lot of time driving from site to site, property to property. It's fantastic that your company zeroes in on the importance of being safe while we are traveling. 264 workers in this industry were killed in those accidents during that same time period. 264 people did not go home at the end of that workday. So hopefully some of those numbers resonate. Now, I know sometimes, especially when I was young, you have this invincibility factor that maybe it happens somewhere else, but it's so far removed from me, it doesn't happen to me, right? Or it won't happen to me. It does, and it can. Mark shared a story about an injury that he carries with him to this day. If we all personally reflect on our own experience, maybe our parents' experience, a neighbor, somebody that we know, I'm sure we could all sit around a table and share experiences. I had a work comp claim in my own personal life a number of years ago on a job site. I tore a calf muscle, and I carry fallout from that today. Yes, it was costly at the time, but I'm a walker. I walk for exercise, and I feel that that the effects of that many years later. I carry that with me, as does Mark. It happens, folks. One of my best friends from growing up, his wife, traveling nurse, recently goes from home to help people that can't get out because of COVID, seniors. She was running a little late. This is about a month ago, was hurrying, lost control on a patch of black ice. Her vehicle went through a yard into a house, and she is now a quadriplegic. It happens. In my previous careers, I've had the unfortunate pleasure of being in managerial roles where people had severe injuries, and in one case, on my watch, a fatality. And I'm going to tell you, folks, when I feel the pain in my calf muscle from walking, it is nothing compared to the pain I carry with me for having lost somebody on my watch. Never goes away. It happens. And it isn't just somewhere else that it happens. Hopefully it never happens at Belknap. But accidents, they happen. I'm a big fan of, well, it was just an accident, and accidents happen, right? Well, I've always believed that too, until you get older and realize, you know what? Accidents don't happen. Accidents are caused. And it's not a pointing a finger at somebody, it's your fault, right? It's, let's look back and see why that accident happened. There's always causation. And that's what we're talking about today, is what you can do, what your role is in making some of those statistics that you've been shown today start to decrease and hopefully go to zero. I want to share with you now a couple of pictures that for a long time I've done safety trainings, and I've not shown these pictures. And I had a conversation with Angie the other day, and decided that I was going to go ahead and show a couple of them. And I'm only going to show a couple of them for time's sake, but these are incidents that happened to other companies in the LandOpt network. But I do want to share them with you. This is a situation where you can see there's a little bit of water on the road there. This is flooding at a client we have down south. Shortly after that happened, a lady and her child expired in that roadway because their vehicle stalled from driving through water, and rescuers could not get to them in time. This, and I apologize for the graphic nature, this one is a laborer that was caught when a pallet of material shifted and they were crushed. We saw statistics, I believe, from Mark on being caught between things. Here's another one where crews were leaving in the morning, heading out for the day. The sun was coming up over the horizon. They had the crew in the truck. They did not see the school bus in front of them stop because of the sun in their eyes. All three cases, 3 different licensees, 3 different clients in the Land Op network. Folks, it happens. What we want you to learn today are some things that you can do to help prevent it and reduce these numbers. You can only do your part. Safety is not somebody else's responsibility. It is your responsibility. And please don't think it's not going to happen to me or it doesn't happen here. Let's make sure it doesn't happen to you and it doesn't happen there. Common risks, transportation related injuries. Think about how much time, I don't care what role you're in, you spend in a vehicle. Most of you going from job site to job site, location to location, a lot of time in a vehicle. Very few landscape contractors out there talk about the importance of defensive driving, being safe in the vehicle. You know, Angie put that first slide up there with the can on the front, the floor of that F-250. You know, when I looked at that, that to me is glaringly obvious. It looked like some sort of a strap or a harness that was next to it, not secured on the floor was an issue. But the biggest issue to me that I think most people overlook, and what I like to see is just a sticker on every dashboard in every vehicle that reminds you to buckle up, be safe, safety first. Some sort of reminder, some signage, right? Transportation, it's a tremendous amount of risk there. Contact with objects or equipment. Mark showed you the statistics on that. Workplace falls. These are not necessarily falls from high up in tree work, although that is incredibly dangerous, right? It has to be done safely and securely. Workplace falls can be significant even from 2 or 3 rungs up on a ladder. Exposure to temperature extremes, substances, maybe something that's on the, you know, some chemicals that are on the ground or the products that you're using, or electrical current. And overexertion, it happens. Sometimes, you know, Mark said, don't be a hero. Sometimes we want to be a hero. We can try to do too much instead of taking a break when our body is telling us we should. Let's talk a little bit about safety education. And I apologize, I'm flying through this, but I hope you get the point. If you think about the statistics that you've been shown, especially the fatalities, most of them, if not all of them, are preventable, and there are ways to do that, right? Recognize the hazards. There's this thing called the hierarchy of hazards, which is an upside down triangle, and at the very bottom of the triangle is what's known as PPE, which we're going to talk about later. And a lot of people think, oh, well, PPE keeps me safe. That's the last line of defense, folks. Hazard recognition, elimination, control, moderation. There's a lot of levels before it gets to PPE. PPE is your last line of defense. A lot has to go into it. Look at your surroundings. It isn't enough to have your glasses, earplugs, boots, you know, your helmet, whatever. Look at your surroundings. Mark mentioned slips and falls. You know, is the grass wet? Is there a little bit of moisture on that tailgate? Recognize the hazards. Effective employee training. Your company cares. Your company cares more than most companies out there. That's why you are here today listening to this presentation. Stay on the forefront with safety training. PPE. Make sure you have the right PPE for whatever task you're doing and using it properly. If you don't know how, ask for help. There are a lot of resources in your company that will be glad to help you with that. I put these up there. I've sent these links to Angie. I don't expect you to write them down, but I want to illustrate for anybody at any level, there is a tremendous amount of safety resources out there for you. There is a lot of them. Take advantage above and beyond everything your company is already doing for you, because nothing is more important than safety. Some quick tips for everybody. Stay visible, be visible. High vis vests, maybe your fluorescent jersey or shirts, stay visible. You have to be visible. If people can't see you, you have a greater chance of being injured. Visibility can also be, to Mark's point earlier, being struck inadvertently by equipment or tools. Don't walk up behind somebody if they're holding equipment, or because if you startle them and they move or jerk quickly, that tool that they're holding could spin and hit you, strike you. So visibility isn't just wearing high vis. It's also making sure people know that you are there in other ways. You would think in 2021 this would be a given. Wear seatbelts. It makes a difference. It could literally save your life. As part of my job on site visits with all the companies in our network, one of the things that I glean a tremendous amount of value out of is going on job site visits. And I typically will go with an account or a project manager, maybe a general manager, and sometimes some crew leads. And it just sometimes never ceases to amaze me when I'll see a crew showing up, or even some of the managers showing up in a vehicle and they don't have a seatbelt on. It's unacceptable. If you get into a vehicle, and I don't care what the rules are in New Hampshire, if you're in the back seat, and maybe even the law doesn't require it, put a seatbelt on. You saw that picture of one of the box trucks in our network that hit the back of the school bus. Didn't end well, but one of the more severe injuries was for somebody that was in the back seat and not buckled up. PPE, you're going to talk about this later. I don't want to take a deep dive into that. This isn't just checking a box, folks. This is something that is issued and mandated for a reason. Make sure it is the right PPE for you. Make sure it fits. Make sure it is right for you. This isn't something that is supposed to be a burden. You're asked and instructed and required to use it because it will help keep you safe. Slips and falls. Be aware before you just jump up on a tailgate. Maybe there's a little bit of dew. It's early in the morning and maybe it's still wet. I need to think twice before I just jump up on there. Or maybe you're jumping out of the bed of a truck. Is the grass a little bit slippery? Has it rained? What are the conditions that could lead to a slip or fall? Think about your environment. We get sometimes so wrapped up in the whirlwind of what we have to do that day, our task list, if you were, that we don't look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is we are going home today, all of us, and with all of our fingers and toes. Safety first. Avoid those slips and falls. Keep blades sharp. Properly enter and exit equipment. Can't tell you on front loaders, excavators, a lot of times you will see people that aren't doing it safely. Listen, you fall getting on some of that machinery, it's going to leave a mark. It's going to leave a mark. Know your machine and equipment. That's very, very important. You shouldn't touch it if you have not been checked out, trained, and understand how to use it safely. Do not make assumptions. Oh, hey, I know you're new on this crew, but you've been in this industry for 2 years. Yeah, you know how to do this. Don't make that assumption. Stay hydrated. This is a huge one. Staying hydrated is something that many of us overlook. Again, we get into that whirlwind of the day and we're trying to get everything done in a certain amount of time, and we're not taking time to stay properly hydrated. It's very, very important. The body starts to do bad things the more dehydrated you are. So make sure you are staying hydrated. There's a chart over there, a urine color chart, where as just a quick barometer, the darker it is, the more water you need to drink. It doesn't have to be all that scientific, folks. If you're out there on the job site and you notice that you're at a 7 or 8 on that chart, very dark urine, start drinking more liquids. You are dehydrated. Walk around inspections, whether it's you've just put a machine on a trailer, whether it is, I don't know, you're walking around the machine to make sure all the guards and parts are in place. It's also walking around the job site. Maybe you just pulled up at the job site. You haven't even unloaded the trailer yet. Walk around the job site. What are the hazards there? Are there power lines that you might come in contact with as you're putting material or equipment on that job site? Look at it. Do a walk around. Keep your machinery clean. That's very important. If it's dirty, greater chance you could slip and fall on it. Or maybe it's dirty and it's covering up the safety reminders that say, hey, this is hot, don't touch it here. Utilize the PPE, utilize your eye and hearing protection, the hard hats. If you're doing a task that requires PPE, utilize the PPE. This isn't just when somebody's watching. PPE is to keep you safe. There are people at home that want you to return safely. Wear your PPE. Secure your load. Sometimes we are very, pressed for time, and we've maybe just loaded a piece of equipment or some, materials for a job. Did we put it on correctly? Yes, the driver is ultimately responsible for, the vehicles and the loads. Everybody on that vehicle should check to make sure that it's on there, because sometimes we miss things. Are the binders put on properly? Were the binders put on, right? We don't want to cause any accidents there. Commit to proper training. Today's training, I can't begin to tell you how thankful you should be that you have been invited to attend this. It's not a punishment. This is something that is so important that your company said, hey, we're giving up the time and we're going to make it happen. It's that important. You need to make that commitment too. But guess what? It isn't just in an hour and a half when this training session ends. Like Mark pointed out when he was speaking, safety first and always. You have a task list to get done. How do I get it done efficiently and safely? How do I get it done effectively and safely? Is this safe behavior? Look around and drive defensively. Don't be in that hurry to get to that next appointment. You never know what's around that next corner. You have to drive defensively. Expect that other driver to do something silly. Expect there to be black ice. Whatever the case may be, drive defensively. Keep the guards in place. I can't begin to tell you how many people take guards off, and they can justify it 100 different ways, right? In their mind. This is why that guard isn't on there. I don't care. The manufacturer has that guard on there for a reason. If it didn't need to be there to keep you safe, they wouldn't put it there. They'd save the money and make the product costs go down a little. Keep the guards in place. Avoid contact with chemicals. If you're working with something, make sure you're aware. Whatever that material safety data sheet tells you, follow those guidelines. Whatever the safety equipment may be, follow them. If you're making repairs on a piece of equipment, maybe a belt fell off of a mower that you're using out in the field, and you want to put that belt back on, that's the fix. Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you're doing it safely, right? Do you have the machine in a position where it is safe and it will not fall down on you while you're reaching under it? Is it shut off? Is it cooled down? You don't want to be reaching somewhere where you could burn yourself. Be very cautious when you're making repairs. Even simple ones, a lot of times those are the ones we take for granted, and they're the ones that can come back to get us. If you spill something, clean it up. That leads to trips and falls. Don't think somebody else is going to do it. Take ownership of that. We want to clean them up immediately. Common sense, we would think, keep clear of rotating blades. I'll tell you again, a company in the network has box trucks with the gate that is hydraulic on the back, and it up raises and lowers, and it has pinched 3 different employees over the span of one summer pinch points when that gate closes, because people would use one hand to operate the lever to close the gate, and they would lean on the truck, the corner of the box, with the other one while the gate was coming up, and when it came up, it pinched their fingers. I'm embarrassed on their behalf to tell you that of the 3 people, it was the same person twice. The 3 incidents, it was the same person twice. One of them lost digits. Keep clear of rotating blades, things that move on machines, pinch points. Restrict access to work sites. If you're going to be working somewhere, let your clients, let your teammates, let your managers know. Safety first. Don't come on this job site because there are hazards here. We need to make sure that you are properly equipped and prepared, and we're aware that you're on that job site. Use proper lifting techniques. You saw slides on that before. That's critical. It leads to a tremendous amount of claims. Don't be that hero. Don't try to show off. Hey, I can lift this, even though it says team lift on it. And even if it doesn't say team lift, if it's heavy, ask for assistance and lift with the knees, not the back. Don't use something if you're not trained on it. Don't feel obligated. Your obligation is to say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure how this model works or how this piece of machine works, or I've never used this before, can you show me? Do not be afraid to ask, feel obligated. That's your job, to let people know if they make an assumption. If you're more than a few feet off the ground, whatever your company policy is on that, make sure you have safety harnesses on, and make sure those harnesses are in good working condition. If they look worn or torn and they need replaced, you say the word and your company is going to replace them, because they are important and we don't want to run the risk of having an accident. On that note, if you have equipment or tool on your crew in your trailer that you are responsible for and you notice it needs replaced, make sure you properly dispose of the one you are replacing. A lot of times people say, oh man, that's still good, I'm taking that home. Can't have that, folks. Make sure it is properly disposed of. And use that team lifting technique. A lot of times the boxes will say, or the product will say team lift. Use your discretion. If it's over, 50, 60 pounds, let's team lift it. We don't need anybody to be out because we tried to be Conan. So what is your role in safety? Well, you're the primary role in safety. Yes, you can control your behavior and your actions 100%. However, you also have an obligation to look around you and remind others to do the same. So it isn't just holding yourself accountable for safety first and always. It's also for you to hold others around you for being safe all the time. And there's no negative feedback for doing that, right? You could look up the company, to the left, to the right. You could look at any role in the company. You see Hayden walk onto a job site and he doesn't have the proper PPE on, you better call him out. And Hayden's going to thank you for calling him out. He's going to put his PPE on, and there will be no negative feedback because you did that. You will be rewarded for that. Make sure that there is a safety plan in place. This isn't just, like Mark said, this isn't just a monthly or a weekly meeting to talk safety. It has to be a plan. It has to be part of your culture. And that is what your company, that's what Belknap is striving to do, is make safety a huge part of your culture. That's why they have this plan where they do all these trainings, and you see a lot of signage as reminders. Practice the critical behaviors. Implement regular safety contacts, right? This isn't necessarily just your safety committee. This is you on a job site, because maybe you're with a crew that doesn't have a member of the safety committee there. Build a safety first culture. And it starts with you, and then it goes to your crew, right? Those you're working with. And if everybody does that, it's going to become a huge part, an even bigger part of the Belknap culture. Investigate workplace accidents. This isn't a punishment thing, right? Like Mark said, reporting an injury or an accident is not going to get you in trouble. It's rewarded. They need that information to help make things safer moving forward. One of the greatest barometers in a company to whether their safety program is really taking root or not is when you start to have people reporting near misses, right? There are reportable and non-reportables, right? We want everything to be a reportable, okay? Hey, wow, that could have been bad. Those type of situations, let somebody know about it. Nobody got hurt, thank goodness, but they could have. We dodged that one, right? Those near misses, that's what you want to report in addition to the actual injuries. Because when you get near misses reported, your safety program is really taken root, and your committee can then work with the Marks of the world to say, what can we do to make sure that near miss doesn't turn into a claim? Enforce safe work practices. Again, accountability for yourself and others. If you see somebody violating it, tell them nicely, hey, this is what you need to be doing. Here's why. Here's what could happen if you don't. Conduct orientation and training of team members. It doesn't just have to be at this company-wide level. It could be very, very simple. We show up at the job site. There's a crew or 2 or 3 of you. Let's talk safety for 3 minutes before we do anything. Let's do a safety walk around. Building safety into the culture there, it's not a one and done. It's ongoing. Yes, we want it to be part of our routine, but it's ongoing. We want to have it at the forefront of our thinking for everything we do. It needs to continue, and it has to be at every level of the company. I mentioned earlier, safety isn't somebody else's responsibility. It's yours. It's yours. Take ownership of the safety initiatives, be accountable for your behaviors, and hold others accountable around you. Show people that you're serious about it by following the safe procedures, the safe work techniques. Let people see that. People learn more subconsciously from seeing others doing it than by having people like me lecture about it. It has to be ongoing, and it can be in many different formats, but there always has to be a reminder of safety, right? You punch in the morning, there should be a sign by that clock wherever you report to, right? As you're driving out of the yard, hopefully the last sign you see is have a great day, be safe, we want you back here, right? When you're driving around in the company vehicles, hopefully there's some signage in that vehicle that's telling you to drive defensively, put your seatbelts on, right? Every time you go to use a tool or a piece of equipment, hopefully, if it isn't on there from the vendors, hopefully your company has something on there that reminds you, hey, this is an exhaust, it's hot. If that label wears off, ask for it to be replaced. The vendors will send that out to you. If you're using a truck with a gate, put a sign, big sign on the side that says pinch point, caution. Ongoing commitment and training. At a minimum, your role in safety. Make sure everybody understands their role. Make sure everybody understands that it's up to them. You may get it, but maybe somebody you're working with says, safety's, that's Angie's program, right? No, it's your program. But this goes more than just the people that you're employed with, right? This goes to subcontractors you might come and use, the suppliers, vendor reps, land op coaches. Every time I go to a job site visit, you better believe I am using any appropriate PPE before I go onto somebody else's job site. And I always ask if it's okay to be on that job site. They need to know I'm there. No surprises. Make sure that everybody receives ongoing training to perform all responsibilities of their role, right? So maybe I'm on your crew and you have me just doing one thing. Typically, I'm an edger, right? But one day something happens, somebody calls off, and you're going to ask me to ride some zero turn or something that I haven't been trained on, right? It may be a rare occurrence, but I should probably at least have been trained on that, and then you give me a refresher again that day. People need to be held accountable for safety violations. What I mean by held accountable, this isn't oh, you're going to be fired, right? And there are degrees of violations, but typically this is a learning experience. Hey, Glenn, you walked onto my job site and you did not have a hard hat, a vest, or hearing protection. I can't have that. Here's why, right? It's a teaching moment. I'm being held accountable. Glenn, you followed your own rules, not the safety protocol. I'm going to tell you why that's important. We're going to have a conversation about it, right? Again, this isn't about trying to terminate somebody or get them in trouble, but you need to be held accountable, because if people see you and they're afraid to engage in that conversation, well, Glenn's always on the job site without a hard hat and hearing protection. If nobody holds me accountable for that, I'm going to continue that bad behavior, and we want to fix that. So people need to be held accountable appropriately. This is huge, and Mark, touched on this and talked about this. You need to feel comfortable reporting injuries, near misses, and violations, right? Maybe you don't. Hey, I don't really know Glenn, but I don't feel comfortable enough to tell him to his face that he should wear hearing protection. At least at a bare minimum, until you become comfortable with that, you could go to your crew lead, right, and say, hey, this guy just walked onto our job site. He's not wearing hearing protection, right? You need to feel comfortable and obligated to report those things, because there is no fallout from that. There's no negative fallout that you're going to encounter for doing that. You will be rewarded for doing that. They want that. They need that information. Please make sure you report things. Make sure your team sees those constant safety reminders. I mentioned a few examples about signage there. If there is something above and beyond what your company is doing that you think would be helpful, bring it to the safety committee's attention. It may or may not be something that they can do immediately or at all, but at least you're bringing it to their attention so that they can be aware of it as well. Show people you're using the appropriate PPE. It's going to be hard to come up to me on a job site, hey, you need to have your hearing protection in when you're not using it. Make sure that you and your team have safe vehicles and equipment with which to do work, right? We don't want, we don't want the duct taped up equipment, and, we don't need any of that, right? It has to be clean, in good working order, well-maintained, sharpened blades, safety guards in place. Vehicles are well inspected, checked out every morning before we take them out of the yard. Make sure that the equipment that we're going to use is safe. And make sure that everybody is empowered to hold others accountable, right? And we talked about that. Doesn't matter who it is that's violating a safety policy. The cool thing about Belknap is you can tell them about it without fear of catching heck, right? Again, you will be rewarded. They will appreciate that. You will look good. And for heaven's sake, never remove the safety guards or shields from anything you're using. I don't care if you think it lets you get a better edge. I don't care what your justification is in your mind. Never, ever, ever remove them or let anybody on your crew do it. Your biggest role, really and truly, is take this to heart, safety first and always, and let others see you exhibiting that behavior, right? Because when they see you doing it, they're going to emulate that behavior, whether it's conscious or not. They're going to. And when you see somebody really going about, let's reward them. Even if it's something as simple as, hey man, I saw you go up to that land op guy, Glenn, and tell him to put his hearing protection in. I think that's fantastic. Great job, right? Make sure they hear about it when they do a great job. Why are we talking about this today? That slide sums it up. Nothing is more important than safety. Nothing. You will never, ever, ever make an argument to me in your company that anything is more important than the safety of each and every one of you. Think safety first, and always, whatever you're doing, is it safe? Could I be safer? Questions, comments, feedback?
So Glenn, this is Mark here, Mark Smith, Mark
Good morning,
Kobe.
sir.
I just wanted to bring up two comments that were put in the chat box through your presentation. One is from Justin Dalder, and he made a reference to eye contact when running equipment. And I want to just emphasize the importance of that. And you can relate this to any piece of equipment, whether it's, you know, a large 30,000-pound excavator, a ditch witch, a walker lawnmower, anything. The importance of eye contact when you're interacting with people. And the example is, you know, if you need to speak with that person who's on that piece of equipment, do not ever approach that individual until you have a physical eye contact and gesture with that person, because whether you're mowing or digging a hole with an excavator, you're focused, you're in a zone, and you know, you have to be aware of your surroundings, but there's a lot of blind spots in those pieces of equipment, and you know, the amount of damage or risk that you can incur to yourself and others is pretty large. You know, if you think about getting, you know, a zero turn mower turns and all of a sudden there's someone standing next to you and cleans you out at the legs, you fall down and the mower hops up over your foot. Could happen. I'm sure it's happened. An excavator, I've seen it happen myself, where someone's swinging the bucket of that machine 20 feet away from the cab, and someone else is standing there they didn't know were there, and they get, you know, knocked in the head. It's pretty serious. So I appreciate Dustin bringing that comment up, or Justin, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's one of those things we don't often think about in a hurry, and it's a big deal. The other one is, I'm going to ask Angie to answer here from Keegan in regards to SDS sheets.
So we now have all of our SDS sheets online, and we have a training video that we went over, I want to say back in October, that people can view. If you are new, we do have SDS app. So if you go into your phone, it may look a little different depending if you have an iPhone or a Galaxy or whatever, Samsung. But you want to download what is called SDS Online. And I'm going to show you what the icon looks like. So I'm hoping you can see that. But it's this one right here. So it has a little building and then something else next to it, like a sheet of paper checklist next to it. So that's SDS Online. And it says Chem Management as the app name. When you log into it, you're going to get basically a list like this, and you can do a search for a chemical up here. It will pull it up, and when you click on the chemical, it will bring you into the SDS sheet. And once you're in there, you can click on the manufacturer, you can look at first aid and all of those fantastic things, or you can click view PDF, and you'll be able to pull up the PDF of the SDS sheet. To find the links to all of this stuff, if you go onto Bamboo HR through a web browser, you can't do it through the app, but on the left-hand side of the homepage of Bamboo HR, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you will see employee links. The top links under employee links is our SDS Online Management links. Click those and you'll be brought to that page. It will hopefully explain how to get the app. I can also resend out the training video so that all of you can see that, and that will also help as well. So I do hope that that answered the question. Glenn, I want to thank you again for joining us today and going over your portion of the safety meeting. Really appreciate your time into that, and I do appreciate the graphic pictures, because I do think it sends a much stronger message.
Yep, I apologize if it was too much for anybody, but yeah, I decided to put a few of them in there.
Awesome. Thank you so much and have a great day. You're welcome to stick around, but I'm sure you've got other things happening today.
Nope, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Everybody, till we meet again, be safe.
Awesome. Thanks. Mark, you can, the other Mark Cody, if you want to rejoin us so that if there's anything that you want to make comments on as we go forward, you're welcome to do that. Let me get a hold of my controls here.
No, I appreciate it. This is fantastic. I think Glenn did a great job.
Oh, absolutely. So we're going back to what's wrong with this picture. Put it in the chat. Gross is right. Trash isn't strapped down. That's only if it's in the bed of the truck. Sorry, Mark, I know this is yours, but these are funny.
No, to run with it. It's but on a serious note, it is a DOT violation to have trash floating through the cabs of the truck.
Absolutely.
You will get fined individually, and the company will as well for that.
So a couple of people are saying no tobacco in BLC vehicles. That is correct. You're not supposed to be using while you're in a vehicle, and that includes chew. Even though it's in your lip, it's an image. We don't allow cigarettes, we don't allow vaping, and we don't allow chew. So if you want to chew, you use your breaks for that. That's the morning break, your lunch break, and your PM break. Those are the 3 times a day you can use your products to get your nicotine in the system. If you are someone who has a serious nicotine addiction, I highly recommend that you go out and you get maybe some Nicorette or something to just help you curb that craving in between your breaks.
I also want to comment on, there's a lot of people here saying dirty birds clean the truck, sweep it out at the end of the day. Many of you might not remember being here, 10, 15 years ago, and we literally drove trucks without floors in them, and that's not an exaggeration. Currently today we sit with, across the whole company, for the most part, a pretty new fleet. Don't take it for granted. I mean, millions and millions and millions of dollars of equipment and trucks that are out there. It was a identified pain for people working here in the past. We've made those investments into the newer pieces of equipment, and we expect them to be taken care of. And you get paid to take care of them. So, DJ Doan's probably the model here. And, you pull in at the end of the day, pull up to the dumpster, throw your trash out. It takes 2 seconds. You get paid for it. And sweep out the mud, sweep out the dirt. So please respect the vehicles and equipment you drive. They're not cheap.
This is much better. I'm not going to actually ask people to answer the question, but this is what a truck should look like at the end of a day. We understand that obviously there are times you can't use water products when it's freezing out, but definitely use the sweeping or grab a dry cloth and just brush things out. A question did come in. Who is the employee's advocate in a workers' comp claim? Are they on their own, or is it a function of BLC? We are not attorneys, so we are not an advocate. We provide the facts to Acadia. Acadia then uses that information to contact the employee and ask them additional questions. We don't feel that an employee necessarily needs an advocate if they're being honest. So it's really not necessary. However, if you get in a situation ever where you feel like you're not being represented, then that's your choice to go out and get an attorney. So now we're going to watch a video about PPE. And I am super excited about this. Oh, I don't have the introduction slide. I don't know where it went. Oh, it's underneath it. That's too bad. So Tom Brown from Carroll County Landscape put together a PPE video, which is amazing. Super excited about this. If you are unable to hear this, I definitely recommend that you turn up your devices just in case. Or I can send out the video. It's also on the Belknap Landscape YouTube channel, so you're welcome to go there if you're not able to hear it completely, but it is a fantastic video. I'm going to shut off my video because I really want you to focus on it. It's amazing. Oh, hold on.
Welcome to Tom's Safety Corner on Local Access Channel 27.
Hold on just a second. I don't think that I shared sound. There we go.
Which channel you watch when there's nothing on any other channel. If you're joining in today, it's because either you have a desire to learn about safety, or you've lost a remote in the couch and now I'm stuck on TV. Either way, today we're going to talk about personal protective equipment, also known as PPE. We've compiled
Sorry, I am having technical
several
difficulties. Give me
clips today
just a second. We're gonna start this over so we see the whole
of
thing.
real job
Not-
sites. Not at all films that I made at my friend's house on a Sunday afternoon with help from his family. What's that? The producers are telling me that if in fact these videos were made at my friend's house, I should let you know that no one in Tim's family was harmed in the making of these safety videos. Enjoy.
Those are not good for you. Where are these?
Thank you.
Now you can go.
Safety.
What a classic safety video. In this video, the employee believed that their earbuds counted as hearing protection, when in fact the only true hearing protection are earplugs or earmuffs like the one I'm wearing right now. When looking for earmuffs, you should look for something with a noise reduction rating of at least 25 decibels to bring that power equipment more into a reasonable range of hearing. You had also seen his foreman handing him a pair of safety glasses. Now, safety glasses are primarily used when there's a risk of debris flying around. You want to look for safety glasses with the Z87.1 or 0.1 plus rating for maximum protection from debris. Anything without this rating is just a pair of glasses. Now let's go on to the next clip.
Come here.
What's up, boss?
You need these just in case it gets loud.
Okay.
Then you need these pants just in case.
Okay.
Why is he?
What else?
These gloves just in case you get hurt.
Okay.
Is that it, Dad?
Tell him to go back to work.
Safety.
What a doozy. That handsome employee was about to start that chainsaw without a shred of safety gear on. Luckily, someone was on the scene to help him correct his mistake before a fatal accident occurred. A helmet like this can help diminish the risk from noise exposure, falling limbs, and also flying debris. A pair of chainsaw chaps is meant to diminish the risk of a fatal injury caused by a chainsaw coming in contact with your legs. And a pair of heavy leather gloves like this is just an added layer of protection between you and any cutting implement. Before I lose your attention, let's roll another clip.
Hey. Working roadside, you really have a safety vest on. I like the earmuffs, but you should also have safety glasses if you're using a brush cutter. Thanks. Safety!
Wow, crazy, right? What can I say about safety vests that hasn't already been said? Safe and fashionable. While this employee was doing the correct thing in wearing their hearing protection, they were missing two key pieces of safety equipment while working next to the road and working with a brush cutter. First of all, they were missing their eye protection, which is important when working with brush cutters and, again, anything that throws off flying debris. A safety vest is also important when working next to the road, because the only thing more dangerous than getting hit with a piece of flying debris is getting hit by a car. Safety vests should also be worn around job sites when working around heavy equipment or any time where visibility may be an issue or when people may not be able to see you moving around. I'd like to end this segment by going to the Carroll County shop so they can show us their safety board and some of the key pieces of PPE they keep on site to keep their employees safe. Thank you for tuning in, and come back again. Thank you. Hello, I'm Tom Brown, and welcome to the Carroll County shop. Up here is our safety area where we keep personal protective equipment for employees. We like to keep it up here out of the way from any damage that might be caused moving around the shop, trucks, anything like that. Over here we have a selection of chainsaw helmets and hard hats. These are great for when you're doing tree work. They're important when you're doing tree work. Also, any areas where you may come into falling objects such as widowmakers, maybe after a storm cleanup, some of these hard hats have really come in handy. We have hearing protection up here. Hearing protection should really be worn whenever you're working with power equipment, anything that puts out a high level or a high decibel amount of noise. We also carry earplugs. So push-in earplugs and these count as hearing protection. As mentioned in some of the previous videos, earbuds do not count as hearing protection, but that's not to say that you can't be listening to music on a job site. If you have earbuds in, we recommend maybe putting a pair of earmuffs over them. Some companies also carry radio and Bluetooth headphones, which a lot of employees in the shop get once they've kind of done a few cleanups on a backpack blower. It's pretty much a must. Over here we have a selection of goggles and safety glasses. Safety glasses should follow the Z87.1 standard or 0.1 plus standard for protection from debris. Safety glasses should be worn anywhere where flying debris may be an issue, such as brush cutting, trenching, or string trimming. They have shaded varieties, they have clear varieties, there's yellow tinted for low light situations. Goggles are great whenever there's a splash factor or wherever there may be like a significant amount of dust that goggles, safety glasses like these won't protect you from. Let's see, what else do we have? We have safety vests. Safety vests are really important for visibility on job sites. OSHA recommends or requires safety vests be worn in any type of excavation scenario, anywhere where heavy equipment is used, where there may be an issue where someone doesn't see you from a bobcat or a piece of equipment while they're moving around. Also any scenarios where you're working alongside the road, say brush cutting or clearing, doing tree work, or anywhere you may be in the road, such as a cleanup scenario where you're trying to get sand off a driveway or away from someone's curb. Over here we have chainsaw chaps. Chainsaw chaps are primarily meant to protect against any chainsaw injuries. Chainsaw chaps have Kevlar fibers inside that can actually bind up the clutch on a chainsaw and stop it before it does any major damage or hits an artery in your leg. We also use chainsaw chaps when brush cutting for an extra layer of protection, and you know, scenarios like that. What else do we have? We have some cut-proof gloves here. Cut-proof gloves, also Kevlar fibers, meant to be used when you're doing hand pruning, any type of shearing. They are not 100% cut-proof. A nice chop to the hand or like a really, you know, powerful machine, I'm sure a pair of shears or a chainsaw would easily cut through a pair of these. But when you're using something like pruners or using knives or anything like that, it can be the difference between losing a finger and having a minor scratch on your hand. And finally, dust masks. Dust masks, like the name implies, are used where anywhere dust is an issue. Sometimes that may be during cleanups when there's a lot of dust in the air, which actually can be bad for your lungs. Also very important when doing stone work. Silica dust is known to lead to lung cancer and create scarring in the lungs, which over time leads to silicosis. So these we use for that. I also use them for cleaning in the shop. Our shop went through a deep cleaning this year, a lot of dust. You know, you have a lot of black boogers at the end of the day if you don't wear these, so. And yeah, so that's our safety area. I know the Belknap shop also carries a great amount of safety equipment. Up here, we kind of have a cheat sheet for, you know, new people to let them know what they should have, what they should take whenever they're doing anything aerating, chainsaw, chipper, gas-powered equipment, mowers, anything like that. So that's something we've created. But if you don't have something like that in your shop, you can always look at the user manual. Some things also just lead to common sense. I mean, that's the greatest protection. This stuff is going to help you, but what's going to help you most is thinking about the situation you're in, having common sense. If you're ever in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, maybe take a step back, rethink how you're going to approach it. If you're ever on a piece of equipment or you're new to the company and you want to jump into a project but you're not fully comfortable with a piece of equipment, reach out to someone like a crew leader, someone in management, someone who knows and can help you learn that, because that's going to be one of the safest things that's going to help you, is knowing how to properly use equipment. This is going to help you for anything that might be outside of that purview. And that's our safety area. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for watching my safety video.
Tom, thank you so much for putting that together for us today. For those of you that may not have been hear the volume very well, you can go at the it's Friday, you can go to the Belknap Landscape YouTube channel and find this video, and you can listen to it later in the day or at your leisure whenever you'd like. It really is a great video, and that little girl is the most adorable thing I've ever seen. So feel free to check it out. So we're going to do another What's Wrong with this video. I'm going to run through this really quickly. Yep. Just waiting for some other responses to come in. Aw. So the little girl's name was Emma, and she's 6 years old. She is so sweet. So we have a lot of eating while driving. That is a potential here. We don't eat while we're driving. It is a major distraction. The bottle could slip out of that cup holder and go underneath the pedals, which could cause a serious accident. That is also true. Trash being left in the truck, we don't want that. You've got to clean that out at the end of the day. We've been over that. There does look like there is a tool in the front seat that can become a projectile if there was an accident. You want to make sure all your tools are secured in the back seat somehow, or in the cab, or on the bed of a truck. So thank you all for participating in that. I am going to push through though, because we've got 10 minutes and I've got some other stuff. So this is what it should look like. Again, that maybe that little tool could be put in the back, but this was a sun glare accident that we had a couple years ago. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Just be sure that when you're out in this time of year, even any time of year, that you're wearing sunglasses to assist with seeing through the sun glare. It really is important that we can see. You want to keep your windshield clean and your rear view windows clean. Test the windshield wipers daily to make sure that they're not leaving streaks, which can impair your vision. Keep 4 car lengths behind the vehicle that's in front of you. You want to make sure that if you're distracted in any way for any reason, that you give yourself enough time to refocus and be like, oh, I need to slow down. And only go as fast as the conditions allow. Slow down for sun glare, fog, heavy rain, and any other conditions that may come across where it could be unsafe. Trash, all the trash. This is disgusting and absolutely unacceptable in any vehicle. This should never happen. This was another picture that Dustin put together. Nobody was harmed in the making of this picture. So we will go through this one real quick because it's the one that is not a vehicle. So what's wrong with this picture? Yeah, so the defensive driving stuff with the clean windows, and that is also for your equipment that you run each day. No helmet, boom, cutting next to a gas can, no welding coat, no PPE on hands, face, sparks and gas can, no face shield, safety gear. Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, if you look on the ground, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. Those are all tripping hazards. That is very haphazardly placed on the ground. All of those pieces should probably be picked up and put somewhere. Pants are too big? Possibly, absolutely. The leggings could get caught on something. I should have welding pants on as well. Thank you all for doing that. So now we're going to talk about stretching. This is a really quick video, so it won't take too long to get through it, but we're going to talk a little bit about it afterwards.
Down, up, down, up. 2 more. Down, up. All right, 1 more. Nice slow. Down, up. All right, to the left.
And just a few years ago, in certain markets in the country, the warm-up program was received with a lot of smirks and a lot of skepticism. Nowadays, it's just part of our culture.
Down, slow, touch your toes. Other side.
It's really about making sure your muscles are awoken, you know?
Scissor lift. So make sure scissor lift, boom lift, you're not standing on the mid rails, side rails, that toe board. Here, let's get stretched out. Let's work on hands. Up and down.
The most important thing is to start the day together. It's really a culture thing, you know? You start the day together, you talk about what you're gonna do today, you talk about what happened yesterday.
Do some squats, hands out, let's go down, down, up. Down. Not acceptable, a worker was removed yesterday for standing on the mid rail of a lift. All right, shoulder rolls forward.
It's a good thing for a lot of people, especially for somebody like me who's a little bit older than other guys. Well, on any construction site, you got to be mentally prepared for it because stuff happens all the time. Things constantly changing, and your head literally has to be on a swivel because you don't know what's going on at any particular time.
I noticed a difference in the people. You know, just the way their activities are. Feels like it takes them a few minutes to get going in the morning. Now with the stretching, it's basically you're loosened up a bit and ready to go in the morning.
Pull back the thumb. All right, we'll end it with Mo's favorite, the wiggle in the middle. Ralphie's got it down. Chad looking good. All right, other direction. Going. Anyone needs an example right here. Set the example, Colin. All right, good job. Safety things for today.
So stretching prevents injuries, and it's really important that we warm our bodies up before we start working. It increases our mobility and our flexibility. I have put together a standard BLC stretching routine, which I will send out. We will make it a part of our culture. If you're uncomfortable doing it, that's why we do it in a group, so that everyone looks silly together. And eventually you just get used to doing it. It becomes who we are. Make it a part of our safety culture. It really is super important. Again, there's a big part of our injuries that are caused by muscle strains that could have been prevented had people done stretching. I recommend that you do this first time when you walk in the morning, do it as a group, do it at lunch, and then do it maybe in the mid-afternoon, because that's when your body's really starting to get tired. Oh, my clicker's going too fast. what's wrong with this picture? So obviously there's a lot going on here. Not anything that's ever happened at BLC that I'm aware of, but I did find this, I believe it was on probably Pinterest or one of the internet sites that have all the good things on it. But I think we all can look at this and go, oh, no, never. Exactly. OMG. Yeah, I think he does need a new tabletop. So that's pretty bad. Not wearing his safety glasses. You're right. That is the worst thing. His back is not straight. I mean, really, do these people not know what they're doing? So we're going to talk a little bit about the Department of Safety. We have over 50 vehicles on the road at any given time. It's not a matter of if you're going to get pulled over by the Department of Safety, it's a matter of when. So one thing I want to make sure that you all understand is you have to have your med card on you at all times when you're in one of our vehicles. Just keep it in your wallet, keep it in your lunchbox, whatever you keep with you every day. It's one of the first things they're going to ask for. Remember, when they pull you over, they're not pulling you over. They're pulling Belknap Landscape or Carroll County Landscape over. That is their job. Their job is to make sure that we're running vehicles that are safe for our employees and safe for the general public. You need to make sure that you know where the fire extinguisher is, the first aid kits, and the reflective triangles. Those are the first three things they may ask you for, because those are things that you're going to need in the case of an emergency. Be polite and do what is asked of you. If the vehicle is put out of service, don't argue with them, and certainly do not get back in the vehicle with the intent to drive it. If you were put out of service, you contact Dustin. We will get a tow truck out there to get the truck, and we'll get someone out there to pick you up. If you get a citation for anything, don't try to hide it. Just call the office, let us know, hey, I just got a citation, this is what happened, and then bring the citation to us. We're going to get an email within a few minutes after you get that citation, so we're going to know. So just be upfront and honest with us. We had the situation last year. If you were on the highway and the way station sign says open, you do need to stop. We are commercial motor vehicles. So it is important. We may not be running big rigs, but they do expect us to stop. We got in a lot of trouble last year because we didn't know. So now we're going to talk about reporting accidents, incidents, and near misses.
All right, so today I'm going to introduce a new segment, 2-Minute Toolbox. Each week, we're going to take 2 minutes and talk about a toolbox safety item related to something that we all really deal with. And today, we're going to talk
Hold on, stupid thing, sorry.
About incident reporting. My very first nuclear outage where I worked at, I had a buddy of mine, one of the carpenters, he got a splinter. I sat down next to him, had lunch with him, and he pulled out his pocket knife, started digging into his finger, and I'm like, what in the world are you doing? He just looks at me, he's like, I got a splinter. Leave me alone. So I left him alone. He was digging out the splinter. He finally got it out, finished his meal, went back to work right after lunchtime. And didn't say a thing to anybody. Shift was over with that day. He went on home, everything was fine. Next day he came into work, and it was a little infected, it was a little red, but didn't really think nothing of it. The next day he came to work and he couldn't even touch his fingertips together like that because it was so sore, it was so sensitive, it got so infected, and he really couldn't do much. So at that point he really didn't have a choice but to communicate that to the safety guy on site, who in turn went and took him to medical, and they tried cleaning it, but really they had to take him to the hospital to get treated because what they had was not going to be strong enough. Spirit fingers. So my buddy and the safety guy went to the hospital, and they had to give him some heavy duty antibiotics to quell the infection. But they were going to wait and see how the antibiotics took hold. I know everyone here is the safety guy. I know everyone here is some members of management. Report injuries, report incidents, no matter how small. And in this case, it could have helped out a lot. It could have kept him from having his finger getting infected. It could have helped the company from having to pay for the medical bills. If the organization didn't want to take him to the hospital because there was no way of proving that it happened on site, then it could be tied up within a legal dispute between the employer and the employee and their lawyers. And there's a lot more money on both sides of the fence that has to be spent unnecessarily. When you report incidents, not only does it save yourself in case it got worse later on down the road, it will prove to the company that it actually happened on site, but we could also possibly treat the injury. If he would have reported the incident to the safety guy, they could have taken him to the medical facility where the nurse could have removed the splinter, could have cleaned the wound, bandaged it up, and then he would have been good to go for the rest of the day and not have to worry about infection. But in this case, he almost lost his finger. So it's very important. Ladies and gentlemen, report all the injuries, report all your incidents, no matter how small you might think it is. Something like this benefits both people. If you get injured on the job, obviously the employer wants to try to minimize OSHA recordables. They want to try to minimize OSHA reportables, but that does not mean that you're not going to get the same level of treatment. Now, obviously the employer would probably want you to come back to work the next day, depending on what you would be capable of doing, but that saves them from having an OSHA recordable, and then it also saves you from being out of day of wages. Workers' compensation only pays about 60% of your salary. So if you get laid up on workers' compensation, which for some reason, a lot of people like doing that, you're not going to get your full salary. So report the injuries, report the incidents to your supervisor, to the safety guy, so it can get documented on the record that it happened on site, and let the employer take care of you. Doing this will save you a lot of headache and a lot of money if you didn't do it. I am way past the 2-minute mark. My bad.
So we want to make sure that we are reporting everything regardless of severity, and that includes near misses. I was going to ask what's a near miss and go through that, but we are already out of time and we've got a couple more things to go over. A near miss is an incident that happened that if somebody had moved or an object had moved in a fraction of one direction or the other, an accident or injury would have happened. So it's really important that we note near misses. An example of a near miss, and I will give an example without giving names. The other day, somebody was moving my desk, and the person was underneath the desk getting ready to take this piece off here, and it's held on by a metal bracket. They had unscrewed the metal bracket, and the desk fell forward towards them and almost on them. Thankfully, I was at the other end, and I was able to pull back enough to keep it actually slamming this person's face and body. But that was a near miss, and that does get reported. We need to know when those things happen so that we can go, okay, so how could this have been done differently? And what kind of coaching do we need to do so that it doesn't happen again? Quick, what's wrong with this picture? Dude's on a ladder that's on a trash can in a wheelie cart. Not very smart. So now we're going to go into an open mic. Does anyone have any questions, other safety specific topics they want to discuss, or anything else? I know that we were hoping to get to a work smarter, not harder segment in here. It did not happen. So if we want to talk, if anybody wants to come on, you can raise your hand. I can unmute you, or you can leave a message in the chat. I do know that Mark Smith had a request that he would like to make of each of you. So Mark, if you want to go ahead and let them know what that is.
Okay, two quick things. One is these project staff and tree staff employees are required to stay on this meeting after we're done. That's Beth Clough, DJ Doan, TJ Jones, Bo Cash, Tim Catalano, Nate Arsenault, Mackenzie, Ben Lehman, Jeremy Clark, Mike Normandin, Taylor Sperry, Steve O, Dan Clifford, and Jay DeCoster. So please stay on after this meeting. And then the final thing, to be very quick with it, is we're going to do a little checks and balances here and see who's paying attention. We've got a lot of great participation today, and it seems to be we've got 12 or 15 people that are definitely engaged and staying consistent here. But my last question for everybody is, I want you to think about what you as an individual are going to do to influence our safety culture this year for yourself and for those around you. And I want you to enter that in the chat box now. So if you got people that aren't necessarily paying attention, please grab their attention and enter in the chat box what you as an individual are going to do.
And once you guys have done that, there is one more video at the end of this that's really short that I do want to show. So please stay on until that has been completed.
I think today was awesome. CCL team over there. Oh my God. If you didn't get to hear that video, please watch it. That was very informative and funny at the same time.
So I appreciate some of the funnier comments here, but we are actually being serious about this question. What specifically are you going to do to continue to create a safety culture for us? We can all improve in some way. 100%. Nobody is doing anything perfectly. So I am going to go ahead and start the last video. If you are in a group and you don't have the ability to send anything in the chat, you're welcome to email me or Mark with your response to that question. This video, you need to watch it to get the message. It's not something that, there's no narration. So please make sure that you're looking at the screen through this video. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe day and have a great weekend.